As you can tell in the last video, I started doing some wiring stuff. I'm not sure if I got plenty of that stuff, but either way, I got the intake off and I started doing a few things here and there so I can actually start getting everything underneath the intake manifold done, as in sensors, wiring, vacuum ports, and all the little things that's underneath the intake, because I don't want to go back into the engine, and I'm trying to keep everything as organized and tucked in place for me to actually work with and not have a nightmare later on down the road while working on the car. But also, guys, before I skip to the video, um, for the harness side, I had to relocate a lot of sensors here and there just to make sure it's to my engines itself, because the other one was for S14. So now that I have it on my harness, it's a Pro Ultimate, so it's already wired up for a JZ non-VVTi engine, which is just like mine. But the way it was wired for his car, slightly different where the connectors were. So I wanted to make sure it was nice and clean, and I decided to go ahead and tear down the harness, relocate everything. I had to make sure where I wanted the harness to be. So we got that done, and now we're starting on more engine stuff for the harness and connecting all the sensors. But yeah, guys, let's keep going and start doing more things on this car, because I'm close to getting this thing done. So hopefully you enjoy, guys, and remember, follow me on my Instagram. And that's about it, because I don't do much social media actually. So just FSI Garage. Alright, guys, so as you can tell, we got the intake off. I forgot where I left off, but intake's off. I'm gonna have to tap I'm gonna have to retap this to a bigger thread size just for me to actually install my GM idle air temp sensor to the intake manifold. I was thinking of doing on my actual piping itself, but either way, I already got something there where I can work with. So also, I do have a few sensors here. So I got a GM coolant temp sensor right there. I got this plug for an aftermarket one that I did have to retap to a 1/8 MPT thread. And here's my fat sensor. And then here's the original sensor, which is actually a 1/8 BSPT, if I remember right, for Toyota. So I actually ended up getting this union bolt off one of my engines that I had laying around here. So what happened was, since this is a 1/8 BSPT, I had to drill this out, made a whole new thread for a 1/8 MPT for this oil pressure sensor for my gauge inside. So that's finally done. As you can tell, I had to drill it to like 11/32 hole, then retap it all the way down. So it's nice. And then I got some -10 AN fittings, PTFE fittings for my turbo lines, and a -4 AN lines for the feed line for the turbo side. I do have one here which would work still, but I kind of want a black style hose here, so I'm going to install that one instead of this one. So as you can tell, that one would be perfect as well, but I'll just get the length off of this one and match it up to that 4AN hose over there. So first things first, let's swap out a few sensors here and there, because some of them, as you can tell, this one's broken right here. And then I'm going to organize everything here just right where it needs to be, and I don't have to worry about that. And I'm going to have to remove this bolt as well, since I'm actually installing that sensor there. And then I'm actually going to remove that oil pressure sensor from the JZ block and running my turbo line off of that one to the turbo. And other than that, add a few grounds here and there for the harness, and that should be it, guys. And let's go ahead and install this as well. And I do have a block off plug right here that comes off of VVTi engines. As you can tell, they have a couple there, one here, then you have your other coolant temp sensor. So I decided to take it to my own hands, since I am going to put a gauge in here as well. What happened here was I drilled it completely out, as you can tell right here. Drilled it out to a 1/8 MPT as well, and my sensor should work right in here with this plug. So there's that. Drilled it out, made it nice, and that'll go right in there. So instead of buying an adapter, waiting a few days for it, I decided to take it in my own hands and modify these to make it work. And it does, as you can tell. All I do is put my sensor in there and we're good to go. So let's get to it, guys. Let me stop talking too much, but hoping this thing gets finished up soon. Trying to get all the mechanical stuff done, all the main wiring done inside of here first. And after that, I'll do all the wiring. But as you can tell earlier, I actually had to do wiring and all that just to make sure it was nice and tucked. So there isn't as many wires here before. So, all right, guys, let's get to it. Get these sensors out of the way first. So here I'm installing this back plug right here that I modified to take a 1/8 NPT sensor. So there's that, and let's do this real quick and let's have it done here in a second. So as you can tell, those are installed. I'm about to do the sensor for the oil pressure switch down there, as you can tell right there by my finger. And this, I forgot to bring a 1/2" ratchet, so I'll just do that tomorrow real quick. And then also, that should be it. Let's keep going. And then I gotta swap this out. So good thing I have a socket for a 3/8 drive on that one. So let's go ahead and do that sensor down there real quick. So there you go, there's that, it's in place now. So that means I can actually connect my sensor back in place, or my connector for that sensor, and kaboom, just like that. No issues at all whatsoever. This one I might just pull back out because it's kind of a pain in the ass, because the way it sits here, it's hard to get it underneath your hand underneath here and try to pull it out. So just to make it easier for me, I'm gonna pull this back out and hopefully it sits sideways for the connector, so I can just pull it like that instead of being in an awkward position. So as you can tell, all those 3 sensors are in place. I still gotta swap those out, but that oil pressure switch, as you can tell, really good mod if you want to do that and use that as a turbo line. Then the oil pressure switch over here. This one is the aftermarket one, so don't worry about that. You can always get a sandwich plate and use your original stock GZ sensor for that, but what I'm doing is running an oil pressure gauge, so it's not going to be running through the ECU. Maybe later on I'll add it in place, but as of right now I'm doing a gauge. So you can tell this is from a non-VVTi, and the non-VVTi doesn't have a sensor here since it's an early model. It's come in a lot with the VVTis, as you can tell right there. That one over here. Then this one's a VVTi block as well. Same with this one. And then over here, this one, as you can tell, doesn't have it. This is a 95 model non-VVTi. And then it has a sensor here with an adapter, as you can tell. And then you have your original bolt right there for your oil housing. So other than that, guys, let's keep doing more and go from there. But let me organize these sensors real quick, then I'll do those off camera. Now that we have all this done here, let's go ahead and start making these feed line for the turbo and the actual drain right here. I do have some 4AN fittings here. They are PTFE, so they're slightly different from AN. So let's go ahead and start assembling these. And these are a little bit different. I'm sure some of y'all know that. But let me go ahead and start working on this, and then going off this measurement from this actual line I have here, the steel one, since it's already in place. I just don't like the fact that it's this color. I just want something black so I can actually blend in more with the entire engine. So let's go ahead, pull this off, and we're gonna measure it around the same size as this and go from there. All right, guys, so now that I have this here, let me go ahead and actually go to the shop and get this done, because I don't have a vise. I won't be able to do it, and I need a cutting wheel to get this all done. So I'll see you there, guys. So as you can tell, I'm here at the shop. I already started making the fittings. As many of you know, it's already easy to it's really easy to do these, but right now I'm actually getting the feed lines assembled, so I can just push in real easily, just like that. We're good to go. And we can slide over this feeding right there. So let's finish the rest of that drain one, and then we're good to go. And then we go back to the units and get the thing finished up. All right, guys. So both my drain and my feed line are both finally done. So I'm gonna go ahead and start packing up and leave to the units and install these in place and make sure they're how they need to be. So guys, I'm back at the unit and ready to install these new parts in here. I'm also having some kind of issue with coolant overflowing here, and then also issue with oils actually burning up in this car. But either way, I do have a spare engine for that one that I'm going to be actually building here soon. But other than that, we're back here. All right, guys, as you can tell, guys, here's the lines, 10 in, and then a 4 in feed line and your drain. As I mentioned that earlier, but I'm gonna go ahead and install them and show you how it goes in real quick. But I'm just gonna mock it up and see how things go. I'm still waiting on a fitting for that sensor side, so yeah, let's get to it. Let's install this and see how it fits. So I have the feed line over there in place, and the covers up here are actually just sitting in place, so they're not bolted down just yet. But as you can tell, the other side of the feed line is going to be actually going right here where the sensor was before. So I just got to get the adapter for that and to a 4AN adapter, so I got to get that in place. And for this over here, I'm going to have to tap into the upper pan for the turbo drain line here. So I'm going to have to remove the turbo manifold and all this pipe in here to get it out of the way so I can actually do that. And hopefully I could do that today. I don't have anything with me as of right now. I'm gonna figure it out, but either way, let's do as much as we can today. And all right, so since my actual knock sensor here itself is broken, I'm gonna grab the one from over here and replace that one with that one. These were from running engines, so let's go ahead and do that real quick. That means I can actually connect my sensor back in place, or my connector for that sensor, and kaboom, just like that. All right, so I just finished doing all the sensors here. I replaced that one. It's slightly more where I want it to be. Same with this knock sensor. That one was broken. I got that in place. All the wiring here's a little bit more organized than it was. I wish I could have a little bracket here so I can hang it up in place to the intake, but that's not gonna happen. And all I have to do right now is add my harness in for my gauge sensor here, and same with the one with my oil pressure right here. That harness is here somewhere right here, but I'm gonna have to reloom that. I don't like that size. I'm gonna have to go a size smaller and run it with this harness, original harness, to the dash and all that. So let me do that real quick. And other than that, I'm gonna have to remove this power steering stuff here in place. And then turbo line, I did go back and fix this up probably an hour ago, and as you can tell, right where it needs to be at. Same over here, nice and clocked. Same with the this line's in place as well. So on that, everything is coming together, and all I really need to do is tap this to a 3/8 MPT so I can actually run my idle air temp sensor. but I'm missing that. I'm not going to be writing the idle air control, so that's going to be deleted. So other than that, stay tuned, guys. Keep watching. Hopefully you enjoy the build. I know it's taking a good bit of time, but we'll eventually have this done.